Very strange infidelity situation. I just found out my wife had been having an affair by discovering another man has moved into our house. The last couple of years my wife has been very cold to me. I tried very hard to improve our marriage in all the usual ways. She didn't care. Eventually I got the "I love you but I am not in love" you speech, then she asked for a divorce. I begged her to change her mind. She persisted. I agreed to move out of the house into an apartment and let her and our 2-year-old son live in the house until we figure out the details of the divorce. She asked me to respect her privacy and stay out of the house. I did not explicitly agree because I owe her nothing. Today after work I go to our house to pick up our son for a scheduled visit. Ordinarily I would not go into the house, but this time I entered because my brother who lives nearby was babysitting for an hour as my wife could not be there in time for my arrival. When I walked into the house I saw several pairs of men's shoes on the mat near the back door and immediately froze. I knew right away that a man was living in my house. I started rifling through all the closets and dresser drawers. I found another man's entire wardrobe. I called the police. I explained the entire situation to the police. They said as long as my name was on the title of the house and there was no paperwork in the divorce court saying otherwise, then I could stay in the house. I told them things could get very ugly in the next hour if my wife and her affair partner got home while I was there. I asked the police if I told her AP to get out of the house, but she said he could stay. What would happen? They said he could not stay without the permission of both of us. He would have to leave the house. Within 5 minutes a police car showed up in front of my house. I explained the deal to them and told them I was removing all of his stuff from my house and forbidding him from entering my house. Within 30 minutes my brother and I had all of his clothes removed from the house and thrown into the garage. I texted my wife to tell her I knew everything and to tell the AP to stay out of my house forever. I told her that I was moving back into my house and he was not allowed into my house ever again. I also advised her to stay away from the house. She did not comply. She showed up at the house 15 minutes later. Fortunately the police were there to act as a buffer and to explain my rights to her. She left the house and did not come back tonight. I have no idea where she went. There is simply no way I am paying the mortgage for another man to live in my beautiful house while I live in a small apartment. Nor will I let another man near my son without knowing everything about him. My plan now is to do everything to keep her AP away from my son and out of my house. I doubt they have a place to stay in the near term. They weren't expecting to find a new place to live this week or this month. We live in an area where it can take months to find a decent apartment in an average neighborhood. They are screwed and I am glad. What should I do going forward? My wife is on a date with another man. Our beautiful daughter is sleeping in her room. I'm sitting here alone with a drink, watching Netflix, our dog and cat by my side. November 2nd she told she was done and wanted a divorce. She still lives with me in our house, sleeps in the same bed, cuddles with me, and occasionally we hook up. She tells me she is still in love with me, but she is finished with our marriage. The whole 11 months of it. She is constantly reminding me of why she is done, little things I do or don't do, our incompatibility, our lack of friendship. I devoted the past 4 months to showing her the great man I can be again, that we are soulmates still, but she refuses to see any different than her own stubborn viewpoint of "I'm done, and you'll just screw up again." I never was unfaithful, never laid a hand on her. And tonight, her plan is to go on a date with someone else, who she admits looks just like me, have dinner, and then sleep with him. She says this will help her get over me. She so matter-of-fact told me this, like she was telling one of her girlfriends. No person deserves to feel that dagger shoved into their heart. Not to mention last night we were intimate. But now I feel used. That she needed a warm-up after it having been so long since we had consistent intimacy. I'm dying inside. The pain is immeasurable. I didn't know this hurt was possible. My world is crashing down. Thinking of someone else being with her, in bed, makes me want to scream and punch holes in my wall until my hands are broken. I had to share with someone, anyone, and I was too embarrassed to tell anyone I know. I had a text typed up for her to send, but I don't think I will send it now. It won't make any difference anyways. My wife left me for another man. We were together for 6.5 years. She was 18 when we met, 18 years younger than me. I didn't know how old she was when we met, and she pursued me until I relented, because she was an old soul and so easy to fall in love with. It took me a couple of years to really let myself believe that we could stay together. I had a lot of anxiety about it, coupled with low self-esteem. Every time she would calm and comfort me by telling me that she had committed herself to me completely, and that if I ever needed proof, it was in the bloodstain left on our sheets by the gift of her maidenhood. We got custody of my kids during the week, and she was super excited about being a mom. Until a lot of things piled up and she was trying to be a mom, a teacher, a student, and work. She became so stressed and didn't communicate well, getting frustrated and angry whenever I would offer to try to help her handle things around the house. She could never find a job that she was happy in, and the house that she insisted we rent became too much for us to afford. We were forced to move an hour away to her childhood home. The kids didn't want to move, and their mom took us to court. We gave them back during the week and got them on the weekends. Her family were hoarders and never came to move at least half of their stuff. The house was 130 years old and had so many problems that her family couldn't afford to fix after I paid them rent, so we stopped paying rent. I hated it there and shriveled into a dark place. She went back to school to finish a double BA, and started hanging out with friends more often. When we spent time together, she was usually angry or distant. I tried to spend time with her, but she was usually too busy and didn't try to make time for us. She started playing in an RPG group run by an old friend of hers. The guy that she had told me that she would have wound up with if she hadn't met me, but not to worry about. They started texting a lot. He doesn't believe in monogamy. A few weeks ago she asked if she could explore a relationship with him. I agonized for a week, I cried, I didn't sleep, I didn't eat. I had constant anxiety attacks, chest pains, cold sweats, panic. I kept asking for more information, for clarification of what it was that she wanted. Did she just want sex, or did she want love? I didn't want to share her, but I could see how happy she was when I seemed like I was coming around to the idea. I could see how much she wanted this, and I wanted to make her happy, so I wanted to want it for her. I talked to the guy about it, hoping that his intentions would be fairly straightforward, but he was very vague and kept using the word love when I was hoping that he would just say casual hookup. A couple of days ago we spent 4 hours in bed going over the 4 different Greek words for love, while I tried to quantify what kind of relationship a husband and wife should have, compared to what it was that she wanted to develop with this man. She would never pin herself down because she didn't want to be too specific and then hurt me later if it turned out that she was wrong. She drew a poly diagram of what she expected the relationship to be like, with her being the hinge in a V, then later, after she went away for her MA and PhD, being the hub and a spoked connection, which made my heart just sink. She said that she wanted to be with multiple men of varied cultures so that she could experience all that the world had to offer. Just typing that gives me chest pains. She told me that she wanted to have her cake and eat it too. That she had hoped that if I saw her happy with this man that it would make me want to try harder to make her happy again. I kept asking her what would happen if I said no, and her answer kept changing. I made arrangements for marital counseling. The day before counseling I did some reading about jealousy and poly relationships, and facing insecurities, and decided that if this what she wanted then I needed to be on board, so I told her to go forward with it. She was over the moon. I watched her spending time chatting with him just like we did when our relationship first started. I could already see her pulling away from me even further. She said that she wanted me to try to resolve my issues in as few sessions as possible, because she wanted to get started on this relationship as soon as possible. When we talked to the counselor, in the end, he said that this was unusual because normally poly couples come to this decision together first, but that in this case it seemed like I was just going along with it to make her happy. He asked if it was what I wanted and I said no, but that I wanted to want to. She said that it was something that she needed in order to become the person that she wants to become. After the appointment was over I told her that I didn't think that we were going to work out. That if this was something that she needed she could go and do it, but that I couldn't be there with her for it. And with that our marriage effectively ended and she turned her heart to him completely. In the space of days, I went from being her primary partner, the love of her life, her husband, to being shut out and disconnected as she forced herself to disengage from me. I would send her messages and see that she had received them and was online and active but wouldn't read them for hours. I kept trying to get her to work things out with me, but she said that I had gone too far, that I had not only toyed with her emotions but I had also toyed with his, and that was just too much for her. She said that she had only ever been with me and that it wasn't fair that she go through life wondering what else was out there, and that she didn't understand that when she was 18. I pointed out that I had predicted this when we started dating, and she had insisted that she would never change the way that she felt about only being able to share her body with someone that she had devoted her heart to. She said that she had grown and changed and was sorry that she didn't feel that way anymore. I stopped sleeping there last week and moved most of my stuff out over a week ago. Over the space of the last week her reasoning has evolved and she believes that we're too broken to fix as the people that we are right now. She says that she didn't know just how unhappy she was until this happened, and that her reasons for being unhappy are things that just can't be fixed because they cut too deep. She wants a child, and despite me telling her that I could be open to the idea after our situation changes, I've had my meds doubled, which has been a godsend, and started making arrangements to move to a new place. She insists that she'll never believe me. If I ask what it is that she needs that being with me wouldn't be able to provide, she won't elaborate. She just says that she won't go down that path with me in a conversation. She believes that we won't be able to get back together again until after she has her PhD and at least one child of her own, because she knows that I would never want to have a child with her. During the 5-year interim, she wants us to stop communicating, stop trying to make anything work, stop trying to build on what we have based on where we've been together because it's too broken, and essentially forget about each other. We have a reunion date set in 2023, but I doubt that either of us will be there with the way that this week has gone. I know what she's going through, I know what she's feeling. I was miserable in my first marriage, and it needed to end. I didn't take action until after someone came along and made me realize that I could be happy again if I just left. I also know that after that didn't work out I felt horrible. I tried to warn her of those things last night, asked her to come back to counseling with me, to work on fixing our relationship, but she kept deflecting and didn't want to talk about it. She said that she heard me and understood me, but that the conversation changed nothing. She's set on being done. And I understand. I understand all of the reasons. She was too young, it was too much to ask. She finally bloomed from someone who couldn't talk about sex at all during a 6-year marriage to wanting to see what all of the things are like with other people. In my darker, weaker moments I've offered her carte blanche because I didn't want to be out of her life, but she has a boyfriend now. She has a direction and I'm behind her. Yesterday she told me that she was getting tired of having these conversations with me, the roller coaster of sadness and anger and desperation. And I realized that I had lowered myself to such a level of codependence that I was willing to sacrifice my values for someone who viewed my devotion to our marriage as desperate. And that made me realize that it was well and truly over. Today she told me that she doesn't hate me, isn't angry at me, doesn't resent me, and that she hopes that someday I can think kindly of her. I asked why what I thought of her mattered to her when I didn't matter, and she said that she wasn't going to go down that path with me. I told her that she needs to learn to have uncomfortable conversations with her partners as a part of healthy communication in her future relationships, because it isn't fair to hold things against them but not let them know what those things are, if you care to keep the relationship healthy. I understand why she's doing what she's doing. I can't point any fingers at motivations, but I loved her like I have never loved anyone else and would have done anything to fix what was broken. This has wounded me deeply, more deeply than the end of any other relationship that I've been in. I know now how my first wife must have felt and I sympathize with her sorrow. I've been trying to get over this but it's so hard. I'm still not sleeping well. I'm obsessed with thinking of the two of them together. I pivot between anger and deep sadness. I've been trying to work on cognitive behavioral therapy techniques and I'm starting to see a therapist next week, but the mental gymnastics of trying to get her off of my mind leave me exhausted before I leave work. She says that I have every right to be angry, that she loves me but that it wasn't good for either of us, and she's choosing the path that meets her needs. I'm not angry. Hurting more than I have ever hurt in my life, but not angry. I can't imagine wanting to love anyone else even now and I don't know that I ever will. People tell me that it'll get better but I've never loved or hurt this way, so it doesn't feel like it could. I know myself well enough to know that even if I find it in myself to love me as much as I ever loved anyone else, I would still have love that I'll want to share, and I'll have no one to share it with, because she was the end of that search, and I'm not sure that I'll ever have the energy in my soul again to lift my head and look for anyone else. My soul is tired, my life is statistically over halfway over, and I can't imagine anyone ever loving me as much as she did, when I was what she needed.